Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds and welcome to Ask the Cheeseman. This is where you can learn about cheese making at home. It is episode, let's have a look, episode 218. That is amazing. Hopefully everybody can hear me and it's all working fine. We've got a few people on the chat now, which is great. So let's pop in some music. Wow, that's pretty cool. Alrighty. So big shout out, as always, to the financial members, the new financial members, YouTube members, Jenny Burns. Thank you, Jenny, for your YouTube membership. And for Frederick Peterson, thank you, Frederick, for your membership on YouTube. And also thank you to all of the existing and previous past members of YouTube and Patreon. And over on Patreon there are different tiers and you get different perks as well. Now videos. Yesterday I just finished filming a very unique cheese. It's a Finnish cheese and it's called Lipa Juusto. I'll say that again. Lipa Juusto. There you go. I think I've said it right in the same voice as the hydraulic press channel. So that's a great cheese. So that'll be from start to finish. I'm going to produce that today, post-production, and hopefully have it up this week for this week's video. Beautiful cheese, and simple. I made it in half a day, so that was really good. The other cheese that I did a taste test on the other day was Graviera, and today I'm going to be frying up some Saganaki with that, so that'll be good fun. So Graviera tasted amazing, so the taste test for that will be out very soon as well. And today I'm going to be making it's a Swedish cheese cake. It's called Oostkaka or Oostkaka. Oh, I can't even pronounce it. Oostkaka. Yeah, so which means cheesecake in Swedish. So it's a Swedish cheesecake, but it actually uses curds. You have to make curds and whey first to make this cheese. So that should be absolutely amazing. I forgot to say who I am. I'm Gavin Weber. I'm the host of the show. And we are also live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitch today. So if you're watching from any of those different platforms, welcome to the show. Big shout out to everybody. Let's have a look. First people today was Cease. G'day, Cease. Lovely to see you. And we've got Patrick all the way from Ethiopia. Thank you, Patrick, for turning up today. Wilma Charlie. G'day, mate. And Dennis from sunny Northern California. Lovely. Charlie Pace from just down the road. Hello, Charlie. Habib from Lebanon. Hello, Habib. And thank you for your photos. We got Michael, who's in the Clare Valley in South Australia. Lovely. Golgi. Hello, mate. How are you? Lacrette. And John, Titus. Wendy. Hello, Wendy, all the way up there in Yarra Valley. Who else we got? Rob from Huntsville, Alabama. Lovely. Got all over the place. Andrew. We've also got Jim. Hello, Jim. And Cheryl. And Cheryl's in Queensland. All right, lovely. And Kevin from a very hot Edmonton, Canada. Yeah, I heard the Northern Hemisphere are getting a scorching. Kim's been telling me, because she tracks the English weather, of course, seeing she's partly English. She's Aussie now, of course. Yeah, she can't believe the temperatures there at the moment. So most of the houses don't have air conditioning, so it's going to be a bit of a scorcher. Unlike here in Australia, we're prepared for that sort of weather, of course. Alrighty, so let's get on and answer some questions. I think we've had one or two already, so let's have a look. Where is it? First question is from Lacrette. Says, how much cost package do the Germany? What? Would like to order a press spring. Unfortunately, we don't ship to the European Union or to England because of the EU and the English tax laws. I am required by law for our little two-person shop, that's Kim and I running the shop, to collect tax and send it to the EU. And that's the law, apparently. So, unfortunately, I can't do that. I just don't have enough hours in the day. So, unfortunately, we can't ship to the UK and to the EU. So, terribly sorry about that. That's just the way it is. Okay. Andrew says, I've been making some cheese before and like doing it right now. I'm in a wheelchair and it's hard for me to get in the kitchen. That's unfortunate, Andrew. Sorry about that, mate. But if you've made some cheese before, it sounds like you've had a great time doing it. So well done. Don't let anything get in the way of making cheese. Excellent. Jimmy Eats the World. It's 5 a.m. in Vietnam. Good content to wake up to. Goodness me, it must be warm there in Vietnam, I tell you. Very nice. Kevin has a question. It says, all of your recipes for feta, which is the best one to use with cow's milk? That would be the very first feta recipe I think I made, Kevin. So you'll have to go back and have a look. So it was, the number one feta recipe. You'll have to scroll back. Just put cow's milk feta and it comes up. So you shouldn't have too many troubles with that. I do prefer the feta recipe made with either all goat's milk or the traditional feta recipe I made with the goat and sheep's milk. Well, it's mainly sheep's milk, 70% sheep and 30% goat's milk. And that was the best. Absolutely perfect feta. And it doesn't compare with any of the fetas that we get here in Australia. It was just amazing. It was beautiful. So I didn't brine it like they do in Greece, where they brine it in the oak barrels for like 12 months. I couldn't do that. I think the longest I brined it for was about 6 months, and that was in the fridge, just in a plastic container, making sure it was submerged all the time, and it was absolutely perfect. Okay. There's a question from John. Says, will you do a video on Barry style ricotta forte ashquant? Well, I've never heard of that cheese before. So obviously ricotta, but ricotta strong ricotta. No, I don't know. Let me just write that down. Let's have a quick ricotta. Fort. I will check that out and see if I can come up with something. But thanks for the suggestion. Okay, next one is from Steve. And Steve says, howdy. I made some Parmesan. Usually I just put it in my cheese cave in a ripening box. I was wondering what would happen if I let the rind form for a week or two, then vacuum pack it to keep the yeasty beasties from growing on it. So in the past, I haven't made a Parmesan for a while, but definitely it would. It'll work. So what I did last time was I let it ripen in the ripening box and kept all the beasties and the molds and all that sort of stuff at bay. Washed it in just a brine once a week just to do that. I left it for a month in the ripening box, and it developed a nice thick rind. And that's when I vacuum packed it, and it was good to go. And the flavor was really good. So the moisture was locked in. It didn't seep into the bag or anything like that. So it was better with a rind at about a month. So I hope that answers your question, Steve. Lacrette says, Gavin, maybe you can send me a spring as a gift, not as a product from your shop. The problem, Lacrette, is that we don't have shipping turned on the store. It's not as easy as that. So if I did that if I turned it on for the whole EU, then everybody would buy and everybody expect a gift, and then customs will come gunning for me. And I don't want that. Okay. Jim says, I found a new channel that curd nerds may enjoy. Certainly, Jim. If I don't know, you can't put a link in there. If you just got the name of the channel, then you pop it in there. Jordo says, hey Gavin, I'm making my second Castle Blue about 4 weeks in now. Seem to have been contaminated with candidum since week 2. There are patches all over the cheese. Any advice? Yeah, just go with it. My Castle Blue, it had a coating of blue, and then the Penicillium candidum did start to grow at about, I think it was about week 5 or something like that. But as long as you've still got some blue there, that's a good thing. You'll end up with a cheese that's a little bit different than the Castle Blue. But yeah, contamination is not a good thing. Just make sure that the ripening boxes are, and that's usually where the contamination comes from, because if you made, say, some white mold cheeses previously, the Penicillium candidum does linger on the surface of the ripening box, so that can be an issue. So what I tend to do, if I find that contamination issue, I make sure that I've washed the container in and the mat in hot soapy water, and then I'll dip it into a weak bleach solution. So it's about 2 liters of water and 20 milliliters of just normal kitchen bleach, no flavorings, no scents or anything like that. It's just normal ammonia bleach. And that works, and that kills it all off. And then there's no residue on it, so it's all good. Okay. Hope that helps. But your cheese will be fine. Charlie has a question. Says, Gavin, I recently watched a video from Azerbaijan where she made cheese and added butter to it. What would that do to the cheese? Thanks for the super chat, Verified. I'll just get into that in a second. The curd nerd light has gone off. So that just adds a bit more fat to the cheese, Charlie, and that's all it does. If it's got butter in it, of course, it's going to be a little bit more. Sorry, if it's got salt in the butter, then it's going to add a bit of salt to it as well. But I don't think it would change it too much. Yeah, and it's going to increase the fat content as well. So that's what it's going to do. Now, I saw those Azerbaijan, I think it was, videos. It's an old couple, and I think their son films them, and they've got massive following. It's just, I can't remember the name of the channel, but it's just amazing. But yeah, it'll just add some fat and a little bit of, add fat content to the cheese. Jimmy Eats the World says, I'm adding sun-dried tomatoes and basil sausage to my menu. What cheese would you throw into that mix if it was you? Now, you want something that doesn't melt. So you could use, what goes soft when you cook it? So you could use paneer or halloumi is good to add into sausages. You could also try some hard Italian cheeses because they don't tend to melt either. So Parmesan, Romano, that sort of thing. So yeah, though, those cheeses will add some flavor to the sausage and add a little bit of something special, Jimmy. So let's get to, sorry, super chat. I missed the super chat. Why would I do that? Thank you so much for the $5 US. It says, how hard is it to get started? And about how much should I expect to spend on getting started with cheese making? Well, it all depends on how hardcore you want to go. So you can start off with basically a cheesecloth as the equipment that you need. You know, if you've got a decent stocked kitchen that you've got access to, all home kitchens have, saucepans and spoons and all that sort of stuff, and you can modify that. Make sure you've got a colander, that sort of stuff. But of course, it's not too difficult. You can make so many different soft cheeses by just having a tight weave and a loose weave cheesecloth, and not have any rennet. And away you go. You may buy some rennet from somewhere, whether it be our store, Little Ring Workshops, or any good cheese making supplier. So that will help out. So there's a few basic things to get started with cheese making, but then obviously it's going to get more complicated. You'll get there's kits and stuff. Just pull one off the shelf. We've got kits like this. They're about $100. Hang on, is it going to focus? Focus. I'll get my face out of the way. Right, there we go. So, this has got just about everything you need, including the cloths and stuff to make blue cheese, all the cultures and all that sort of stuff. So a kit will probably cost you about $100 Australian. I don't know what that is from where you are. But what's that? If US dollars, about $75 US for a fairly comprehensive kit. We've got lots of them. We ship to the US as well. But there are lots of good cheese-making stores, supply stores in the US and Canada that you should be able to get stuff from. But yeah, I think to start off with, if you want to start making just soft cheeses, it's going to cost not much at all. But if you want to start making a little bit more complex cheeses, then cheese kits are the way to go. And they have most of the stuff in there except for the kitchen equipment. If you haven't got any kitchen equipment, that's when it's going to get a little bit expensive. But what you can do is go to opera shops or opportunity stores or thrift stores and pick up second-hand equipment. As long as it's stainless steel, should be good to go. You shouldn't have any problems at all. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, Verified. Jenny. Hello, Jenny. And thanks for your membership the other day. It's fantastic. Your question is, hi, Gavin. New here. Thanks for the great content. No problems at all. I make cheese from my own raw goat's milk. At times, my cheese is crumbly. It still tastes great. Is there a tip to keep goat's milk from going crumbly? Yeah, so it means the acidity of the cheese, the final cheese, is too high. So if you're using raw milk, then you can probably use about 50% of the starter culture that we've got in the recipes. Remembering that raw milk has all the lactic bacteria in it that you need to make, a very basic farmhouse cheese. But if you're going to get a little bit more creative and try different styles of cheese, then obviously you have to add some different starter cultures. But when you do add 50% less, that means that the crumbly cheese that you're creating means that the acidity is too high and your cheese crumbles. So that means that there's too much culture, which is producing too much lactic acid when it eats the lactose in the milk and then creates a crumbly cheese. So that's one problem that you can get with over acidification. Okay. Next question is from Titus, and let me just check something here. Just checking. All right, yeah, quality's good. I was looking on my monitor and it didn't look very good at all. All right, Titus says, I made half a gallon of milk to fresh ricotta cheese 3 days ago, and it's all gone now. It was good, just saying. Very good. Well done, mate. Half a gallon, what's that? 2 litres. Yeah, good. That's a nice, decent amount of cheese, definitely. I hope you cooked it all in something amazing. Lasagna is just perfect with homemade ricotta. Okay. Lacrette says, okay, mate, I understand. Thank you. It's okay. Yeah, I had so many issues with UK and EU shipping, so unfortunately. Said, lastly, I made a hard press Gouda over 30 kilos. Great experiment. It gave me Italian-style hard cheese with a Gouda palate. Very nice. Very interesting. Yeah, sorry, I can't. Look, most, what you can do is go to the hardware store. This is a tip. And go and have a look at all the compression springs that are in the hardware store. It may be a bit difficult, but what you can do is take a scale, to the hardware store, put the spring on top, push it down, and see how many kilograms of pressure or how many kilograms of weight it takes to fully compress the spring. I know it's not very scientific, but it's about as good as you'll get to figure out whether the spring will work in a spring style press like we have, like we sell and I use in a lot of my cheeses. So yeah, just put a scale, put the spring on top, put your hand on top, and press the spring until it's fully closed, and see how much weight it takes to fully close the spring. Then you'll know when you're using your press how much weight is pushed onto the cheese. So that's just a very basic rule of thumb. Not too much science behind that. Okay, next question. Oh, it's a statement from Herb. Herb, good to see you, mate. Lovely to see you this morning. All right, Michael says, hi, Gavin. My wife made goat's feta and wants to marinate it. Is it still necessary to place it in salt brine and then marinate, or can you add the salt to the outside, air dry, and place it in the marinade? Yeah, you can do both, especially with something as simple as a Persian feta. You don't have to brine it. You can dry salt it. It will take a while for the salt to penetrate into the cheese on the outside. Remembering it'll stay moist for quite a while, so air drying it at room temperature, you're letting the lactic bacteria eat a lot more lactose because the temperature's higher than when it would be in brine. I normally brine my cheese between 4 and 13 Celsius. So I'll either keep it in the kitchen fridge or in the cheese fridge in the brine. And that way the lactose doesn't get consumed as much by the lactic bacteria that remains in the cheese. By air drying it, you're letting that the lactic bacteria work more effectively and consume and make more acid, which may be okay with feta because it's a crumbly cheese. So either or, look, try either way. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that there may be some difficulties with that. Okay. Charlie says that's the channel. It was labeled as cheddar. Oh, okay. So that's I know what you're talking about, Charlie. There is a cheddar channel, but it's not about cheese. It's about corny stuff, as in cheesy stuff, jokes, stuff like that. Jordo says, nice, thanks for that info. Just another question. Those Castle Blues were made for a trip with friends in August. Time to be 8 weeks old then. Will the extra candidum over-ripen it? Shouldn't do. I would, if I was you, if you're 4 weeks into it, if you've got a full coating of some type of mold, then it would probably be best to wrap them now. If you've done the piercing and all that sort of stuff as well to get the blue into the center of the cheese, then yeah, I would wrap it probably now, and then you wouldn't have too many problems with the white mold growth going too crazy and creating too much runniness in the cheese. It'll be soft, but I don't think it'll be runny. Annette, lovely to see you. Thanks for turning up today. Better late than never, indeed. Titus says a good sized colander in cheese making can also be used as a motorcycle helmet. Methinks, yeah, righto. Crazy. Paul says, hi, Gavin. Is there a general rule how to change a cow's milk recipe like chowder to use a goat's milk, not raw milk? Thanks. Yeah, look, I would definitely use, because let me just start again. So goat's milk has a higher fat content than cow's milk, right? So you'll get a richer cheese, and the flavor will be a lot stronger because of the enzymes in the goat's milk. There is a rule of thumb. Where is it? I did see something. Oops. Hang on just a consulting the easy. It's in my book too, but I haven't got a book on hand. Raw milk. So let's have a look. There is something here about using raw milk. Yeah, it just says it recommends that you mature the cheese at age at longer than 60 days. There is something about goat's milk here. Hang on, I got milk. Substituting milk. All right, goat's milk. It says here, it's a bit of a school lesson, I suppose. Goat's milk has a lower pH. That is, it is more acidic than cow's milk. You will need to reduce the amount of rennet, that enzyme that favors a acidic environment in order to coagulate the milk. So reduce it by 15 to 25%. For instance, if a recipe calls for 3/8 of a teaspoon or 3.75 milliliters of rennet, use slightly more than half a teaspoon, which is 2.5 milliliters. Conversely, using 15 to 25% more rennet in a recipe that calls for goat's milk in which you want to substitute cow's milk, so you add a little bit more. It says goat's milk has finer fat particles than cow's milk, which means the fat remains more or less suspended in the milk rather than rising to the top as in cow's milk. This finer fat is also responsible for the smooth, delicate texture in goat's milk cheeses. There you go. So it says use a little bit less rennet, about 15%. But that's the only thing I could think of. I would still add in calcium chloride to help you get that proper curd set, especially if the milk's been pasteurized. But yeah, Paul, that's my advice to you, straight from 200 easy cheese making recipes. So hopefully, Paul, that helps. Herb says, in the US, you may find valve springs at auto parts stores as a spring type press. Indeed, I found some that were similar to the ones I'm selling because I sourced them in from a wholesaler, those springs. And I went to the hardware store and did take a scale. Got some funny looks. But yeah, I actually found a couple of springs that were close to 50 pounds, 25, 22 kilos roughly. And yeah, they were okay. And there was actually some long ones which were like 100 pounds or about 50 kilograms. All right, so it's time. Let me just flag where we are. Put a little star so I know where it is when I come back to it. So it's time for the gallery, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if I can share my screen and we can see this lovely creation. Alrighty, yes, look at that. All right, so today the first picture comes from Celeste Fraser. Thank you, Celeste, and apparently she's watching from South Africa. Hopefully she's awake because it's pretty late there. I think it's probably 1 a.m. But this is her charus with rosemary and ash. She's got some little notes here. Let me just read those out. It says, hi, Gavin. I thought I'd share some of my latest successes. This one's charus with rosemary and ash rind. Says, I love the way the bloom grew through the rind. I also layered the rosemary through the cheese, which lifted the flavor. It's a pretty bland sort of cheese, but that looks amazing. I love the way the green color of the rosemary is just beautiful. And you can see, I don't know if you can see at the back there. Let's make it a bit bigger. You can see there, it's a bit pixelated, but you can see the ash just on top still of that. So yeah, very nice indeed. Well done, Celeste. There's another one that you sent me. So this is your Jarlsberg. Can I make it a bit bigger? There we go. So this is Jarlsberg. Look, those eyes are absolutely perfect. So well done. And I don't know, I can't say anything more than that, except that is a perfect looking Jarlsberg to me. Next one is a blue cheese. Very gnarly on the outside, but I bet it was great on the inside. I wish it was a cut version of it. So this is a blue cheese called Blue Bayou. It's a New England cheese making company recipe, which I'm yet to try. So it looks very nice. That's what I would expect of a blue. You get all sorts of the blue grey mold and a little bit of PC growing and a little bit of brevibacterial linens on the outside as well. But on the inside, the flavour is amazing. Okay, so the next photo we've got, this one is, thank you, Celeste. Appreciate those photos that you sent in. This is from Charlie, who I think is in the chat. Charlie says, hi, Gavin. I was wondering if you could use this photo in your cheese gallery. It's a batch of Cheeseman Tal Bazaar I recently made using the Huileb, that's how you say it, Huileb baskets that I got from you. I normally get 8, one eaten, out of 3 litres of milk, and I put a standard 1 tablespoon measure next to them to see how they turned out. Yeah, they're little things, aren't they? The baskets that that I got from a Maltese wholesaler are little small things, but they make the best little cheeses. So there they are, and they got pepper all over them, and I bet they taste amazing, Charlie, because you do make an amazing cheese, and thank you so much for that recipe that featured on the channel. All right, the next photos are from Habib, and he's in Lebanon, and I think he's in the chat as well. And Habib says, Dear Gavin, I'm watching your show every week lately and want to thank you for all the information and tips you give the whole community. I wanted to share my cheese cave with you. It is a modified upright fridge with a continuous fan that blows air from the top to the bottom, but the humidity was never a problem because it was always between 70 and 90%. I always try to close my boxes containing a natural rind because the circulating air from the fan is quite strong, and I've never had cracking. When my natural rind cheeses are aged for a month, at least I vac pack them and stack them on top of each other as the images show. It is now summer in Lebanon, and I stopped making cheese for really hot weather. Do you think the weight of the cheese on top of each other will affect the aging? Let me just have a look. No, I don't think that's an issue. Looks okay to me. As long as you flip them, I've seen cheeses stacked on top of each other without any issues whatsoever. I think you've got another picture somewhere. Yeah, nice close up there. So you got some stacked there. It won't cause any issues, Habib. It says there, what can I do with all the cheeses? Obviously, I could not eat them all at their maturation age. That's your problem to solve, Habib. I tend to keep a little bit of each cheese and mature it longer in the cheese cave, which is why sometimes I forget about them, and you see them in the you see those videos where I have like 7-year-old cheeses because I've just left them in the cheese cave. But yeah, look, they'll keep, and just try them, and they'll be a lot more mature than what they were when you first tasted them. So yeah, re-backpack portions of them and eat what you eat. Give them away to family and friends. You know, what Ruth does over in California, she gives hers away to her patients because she's a therapist. So she gives her cheese away as therapy. So you could do that. That would be cool. Says, I have cheddar, cloth-bound cheddar, Italian-style hard cheeses, lots of chowder with cumin, caraway rubbed in paprika. Best regards, Habib. Thanks, Habib. I think there's one more photo, mate. There we go. Down the bottom, we've got the wine. You can't have cheese without wine, unless you don't drink wine, of course. But, yep, nice little collection there. Excuse me. Yeah, lovely looking cheese fridge. Okay, so that's it from the gallery. Right, thank you, Habib, for sending that in. Back to my face. There we go. All righty. let's have a look. Back to the pinned message. There we go. Oops, don't do that. Don't do that. What are you doing, computer? Just want to unpin it. Right. Now, how do you send in photos to the gallery? That's correct. How do we do that? Let's have a look. There is a thing here. Sorry. Getting a warning from YouTube saying I'm not getting enough, the bit rate's not high enough, but I know it is. Right, so just sharing the screen just to show you how we do that. So you just go to the channel here, Gavin Weber, to search for that on YouTube. And you go to the About tab here, and you can see down here it says Details. For business inquiry, sign in to see email address. And that's the email address there that you send any gallery photos to. So please do that. If you've got some cheeses that you've made, I don't mind whether they're good, bad, or ugly. I will show them and give advice if you've got any queries on that as well. So that should be no issues. The email is always open, and yeah, just send through some gallery photos. And thanks to everybody who sent a gallery photo today. Okay. Let's have a look. There are some more questions here somewhere. Where did we get to? Jenny says, I made your Persian feta a couple of years ago, basically forgot about it and took it out of my cheese class cave the other day. It was pretty incredible. I bet it was. I bet it was indeed. Jordo says, thanks, Gavin, for your advice, and thanks for your videos, which got me into cheese making. It's been a nice ride so far. It is. Look, I must admit, I've been making cheese now for, well, since 2009, so that's a long time. All at home. I haven't had any official training. I've just learned from books. There were no videos until I started creating them on YouTube. There were no tutorials that I could find that were as detailed as the ones that I make. So I'm so glad that I've been able to share those recipes with you and build a community of home cheese makers that, you know, turn up week after week watching the videos and watching the live chat. We've got another super chat there. That's from Paul. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, Paul, for the $20. Goodness me, that's amazing. It says, Gavin, thank you for the louder mold information. I haven't received it yet, the mold, that is. But the goat milk gouda will be first. Or as the Dutch say, gouda. I just pronounce the G sometimes. I know it's not interchangeable, but it's gouda. Yeah, no problems. I think I've got some follow-up stuff that Shauna from Tasmania sent me. She sent me some stuff about a bigger mold or a different style of cheese. So that mold that I use, the 1 kilo one from Lauder, the one that doesn't need cheesecloth and lower pressing times and all that sort of stuff. We've recently got some information through. So if anybody bought one of those molds and have had trouble with the cheese sticking in the mold, then there is a solution for that. You can email me at the same place that you can send the gallery photos. But Paul, no problems at all. I do have some info for cheddar as well. That there was a little bit of variation in the pressing times and pressure. So if you want that info, just shoot me an email as well. But thank you for the $20 super chat, Paul. Okay. There is some more questions somewhere. Let's have a look. Okay. Kevin has a question, says, my fundy fog is going on for 3 weeks and started to get a bit of skin slip. Should I put it in the kitchen fridge to slow it down? Yes, I would indeed, Kevin. I didn't experience that. there was just slow growth on the top and bottom, as you saw, because I salted it too heavily on those surfaces and not around the outside, which grew the white mold perfectly. There was no skin slip. It was quite attached to the cheese. Now, for those who don't know, skin slip is when you get a camembert and the proteolysis is too fast, or sorry, a white mold cheese, and the proteolysis, which means the breakdown of the proteins, too fast, and it makes the paste underneath the skin go really runny really quickly. Now, it could be a temperature thing, Kevin, not sure, but yeah, put them in the kitchen fridge. If I was you now and they've got a full coating of white mold, then probably time to wrap. If they haven't, put them in the kitchen fridge in the ripening box, and the white mold will still grow at those low temperatures, but very, very slowly. So, but that'll stop the runaway proteolysis and breakdown of the proteins in the cheese and make it go less runny, if that makes sense. All right, Jean says, hello, Gavin. I recently made your petite blue and it was going well. Plenty of blue mold development. But I noticed at the 15-day mark, the cheese had developed skin slip. What went wrong? Just as Jean, as I mentioned with Kevin's, either the temperature could have been too high. That usually causes the penicillium broke 40 to make a really runny paste as well. Mind you, those cheeses were quite gooey. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe the temperature in the cheese cave was a little bit high. I think it was about, in the recipe, I think it was between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. So probably closer to, 10 or 11 is probably better. But yeah, the higher the temperature, the quicker that mold breaks down the proteins in the cheese. So that's probably what's going down. Lacrette says, question, tomorrow I will make camembert. Any special tips? Follow the recipe. Make sure that the camemberts ripen at a fairly low temperature. I think it's between 7 and 10 degrees Celsius when they get their mold development. Otherwise, you'll get skin slip, like some people have experienced. So yeah, that could be an issue. Just make sure that they're dry to touch before you put them in the ripening box, and take them out of the molds. So remember, it takes about 2 to 4 days. It's depends on how quickly they're drying in the molds. Because if you take them out of the molds too quickly, they lose their shape and go flat as a pancake, which means they've got far too much moisture in them. So yeah, you've really got to wait. Make sure that they are firm enough to hold their own shape before you take them out of the hoops or molds. So that's the big issue with camembert usually. Erlene says, I have a big problem this year. When I put my cheese into vacuum sealing, after a few days, I see moisture in the bag. I've taken them out and let them dry and vacuum again, but some still make moisture in a few days. Is there a rule of thumb how you've gone over the character limit? So yes, I've seen this before. It's when people, when they're making their cheese, the cheese is way too moist when you put it into the vacuum packing. The internals are as well, because either the curd size was too large and the curds held too much moisture, and when you vacuum pack it, it sucks all the moisture out of the cheese. Happens when it's not air dried properly, before you put it into the vacuum pack, it's got to be touch dry, right? So when you touch it, it can feel like a clammy handshake. That's good. That's no problems at all. It can be tacky, but it can't be wet. If you put it in moist and it hasn't formed a really, really thin rind when it's air dried, as soon as you put it into vacuum packing, all the moisture is going to come out straight away. Maybe it'd be better for your cheeses until you fix that issue of the curd size or too much whey locked into the curds. It would be best to wax it, because it's not under pressure. It's just a coating. Whereas vacuum packing, you're creating a difference in atmospheric pressure, and it draws the whey out. Okay. Jenny says, I make goat's gouda often. The recipe calls for half a teaspoon of rennet for 2 to 4 gallons. Yeah, that'll be about right. So half a teaspoon is 2.5 milliliters. For 10 liters of milk, which is about 2.5 gallons. Yeah, that's about right. 2.5 gallons, I use 2.5 milliliters of rennet, which is a strength of IMCU 200. So IMCU stands for International Milk Coagulation Units. And most European rennets are about 200 IMCU, and most North American rennets that they make and sell over there are 280. But the difference is negligible when you're using small batches of milk anyway. So I use 200 in mine because I get my rennets called Chimax Plus from CHR Hansen, which is a Danish company, if I remember rightly. And that's where we get our rennet from. And it's IMCU 200. Anyway, next question is from Herb says, I'm going to get another mini fridge tomorrow for a second cheese cave, just for the moldies, brie, camembert, and blue. Are you having too much cross contamination, Herb? That may be an issue, I suppose. But yeah, it happens. Wendy has a statement and says, what beautiful cheeses, people. I love the gallery each week. So do I, Wendy. When I go through my emails on a Saturday night, which I do, and check all of the submissions, I'm just gobsmacked on the amazing cheeses that people make, whether they're from my recipes or not. I don't mind at all, as long as it's cheese. I love all the cheeses. It's just how I am. But the photos never cease to amaze me. They just are beautiful every week. Even the failures are beautiful. And Herb has, hit the nail on the head and said cheese making is therapy. Look, it is. Yesterday morning, I don't know, I was a little bit tense for some reason. I don't know what it was. And then I started the, maybe because I hadn't made a cheese tutorial for a while. So I'd set all my gear up and all that sort of stuff as I do, because, cheese making, I set up all the cheese making stuff, plus I all the filming stuff as well. And when I was going through making the Lipa Justo, the finished squeaky cheese, at the end of it, I was so relaxed and calm, and I got to have some amazing cheese, because that's one you can eat straight away. So yeah, it is good therapy. It helps you relax, focus, calmly make it. If you're in a fluster, your cheese is going to be a mess. If you're calm and are prepared for the cheese making process throughout the whole thing, you've got everything set out and laid out, then it goes smooth. I don't have too many issues with equipment and all that sort of stuff, because it's all pre-prepared. It's all good. Okay. So next question is, how much time we got? We've got 10 minutes to go. Annette says, I followed your recipe for canned blue, but decided to let them mature without spraying the white molds, hoping for a creamy blue. Yeah, it should be very similar to the Castle Blue, Annette. I think you'll have a success there, so it'll be lovely. Let's have a look. Shauna has a question, I think. Shauna says, good morning. Read the louder mold. The farmhouse cheddar I made took over 5 days to dry. My press couldn't reach the pressure recommended. So trying to sort this out. Yeah, Shauna, what I've done when using those molds, as you've seen, and thank you for that information that you sent through that you received from Lauder. I really appreciate that. I've cut and pasted it into a PDF so I can share that with other people when they request it. Yeah, so there's some fairly high pressures for the cheddar. It said it was like 100 kilograms or something. So it's quite extreme. So that press that I've got, the double lever press, the one you've seen, the big wooden one that was sent to me, I found that can reach those pressures. So if you get yourself a Dutch press and not a spring press like, I think you bought from us, then I think that Dutch press, you'd be able to apply a lot more pressure to the cheese in a shorter time, as they say. It was like, for the Howder, it was it like 90-minute blocks of pressing, and that was it. So in an hour and a half, I think it was done. So an hour and a half, 4.5 hours, the pressing was done. For the cheddar, the info I think you sent was a lot higher, a lot higher pressures for the cheddar to get it in that same mold. So, yeah, so like I think a Dutch press is going to help you out, or a lever action press. So, alrighty. A few to go. We've only got 7 minutes to go. Titus says, I love poutine, which is a Canadian dish, which is cheese curds, fries, and beef gravy. Indeed, I made some of those, Titus, and you can see those on the channel as well. If you go and search for squeaky cheese curds, and I made a poutine at the end. So, Jim says, allow with Shauna's comments about not reaching pressure. Will different cheesecloth affect drainage? Not really. Well, they're all fairly porous, even those plastic reusable ones, Jim. I don't think that's the issue. Shauna's talking about using the Lauder mold. We got some information that we're supposed to press harder and less time, so the cheese doesn't stick in the mold. Shauna was having some issues with her cheese sticking, and those molds don't use cheesecloth. So, but different cheesecloths, the weave of the cloth doesn't really affect the pressure, how much pressure you need to put on the cheese. Shauna says, trying to get a Dutch press, New England cheese supply currently sold out. I think there are some in Australia. Have you gone and had a look at cheesemaking.com.au? Graham Redhead, where is it? Hang on. Let me just have a quick look. .com.au is different. Do they have presses? Let's have a look. I don't normally recommend, not my store, but let's have a look. Does he have presses? Cheese presses. Let me just have a quick look. I'll share the screen as I do. So this is another cheese making store in Australia. So now he's only got a spring press type thing, very similar to New England cheese making supply. He doesn't have a Dutch press, so unless there's one at Cheese Links. Let me have a look. Cheese Links. Click on their ad, it costs some money. Come on, let's go. Internet, be fun. Taking its time. Right, products. Let's have a look. Come on, Cheese Links. Show me, do you have presses? Of course not. Why would you? Don't know what it is there. Oh, they just have this wooden one. That's right. Yes, it's the one with the poles. So yeah, maybe issues. Anyway, so yeah, so that's what's going down. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. None of those Australian companies have anything like that. So sorry about that. So there's not much you can do about it. Yeah, maybe have a look on Etsy is another good place that people do sell Dutch presses in Australia. I have seen some Etsy places that are in Australia, so you could go and check that out, Shauna. That may help as well. So, yeah, well, fingers crossed, that'll help. So, not sure. But that's as bad as good as it gets. Sorry about that, mate. Another last question of the day is from Oscar. It says, what's the best, easiest cheese I can make? Oh, well, the best, easiest one is ricotta, of course. So you can see ricotta is a very simple cheese to make. And if you go and search on the channel, you will find the recipe for whole milk ricotta and whey ricotta. And then from that, you could probably make paneer, which is a very simple cheese as well. So I've actually got a video that all the best beginner cheeses. So you can go and search for that. And I think I list 5 beginner cheeses that you don't need a cheese fridge for. And that will help you out, Oscar. Anyway, that's it for the show today. Thank you so much, everybody, for turning up and asking your questions. Without your questions, there wouldn't be a show, of course. I've noticed that on my dashboard, there's been some technical difficulties stream-wise on YouTube. I don't know about the other channels, but if the quality's been a little bit ordinary, I'm terribly sorry about that. And hopefully next week there'll be a better connection. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, don't forget that you can pick up any cheese making supplies. We ship to a lot of countries, except the EU and the UK, of course, over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. You can get all this stuff over there. If you go to the merch store, you can go to youtube.com/Gavin Weber. Just go to the channel, and there's a store tab, and you can get all the merch there, cups and stuff like that one. Let's have a look. There we go. It's a cool cup with me in the cheesy chair of wisdom, which I haven't sat in for a while. Hopefully it's still wise. But they don't make the cups for left-handers. It's on the wrong side. Maybe I should put it on the back. Put both. Maybe put it on both sides. See what I can do. Anyway, so you can get your merch there. And don't forget that I teach it's an online course over at courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au. And it's called the Curd Nerd Academy. And we've got one course on there at the moment, a beginner's cheese making course, where you can learn how to make 9 different cheeses with all of the tips, tricks, information about basics of cheese making, and all of that good stuff. So, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. I appreciate you turning up today. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I will see you next time, as Ruth says. See you next time, guys. Bye.